we did, at the time, I think it was like $54,000 that weekend. And I looked at my dad and I said, I think it's time.
All right, what's going on, guys? We are back. We've got another big-time guest today. For all my Columbus, Ohio friends or Midwestern folks, you'll know today's guest. If you watch our content, any card show vlogs, you will have definitely seen this man before. And if you've ever been to the shop in the past, it's been a little while, but Logan was a former employee of ours. So this is going to be a jam-packed episode. We're going to unpack and uncover a lot here. Get an idea of what he's been up to and what might be next for Logan and the great sports card team. So Logan, first off, thanks for coming on the pod.
Thanks for having me. It really means a ton.
Well, this is going to be fun. Again, I think if you guys have ever watched any of our YouTube videos at card shows, especially like Xenia, Shipshawana, I would say those are two probably of the most frequent ones we've made deals at. Yeah. You'll have definitely seen our interactions. This will probably be the most unserious podcast I think we've ever done. Brian smirking in the background. Logan and I have known each other for a while, so our relationship is rather unserious. But I am actually looking forward to talking and uncovering a little bit more. So
yeah, me as well. As if anybody that is watching this knows who I am a very unserious person. So
so this will be fun, but. Let's start with the usual. Let's start with who you are and how you got here.
Yeah, so I'm Logan Harris, founder and owner of Great Sports Cards. So I've been collecting since, I was 5 years old. My grandma actually, my dad's mom took me to Kmart after church one day, and I bought Kmart.
Dang,
throwback.
That's a blast.
Yeah, it makes me feel old now.
Blast from the past right there.
And we bought a Rookies and Stars blaster box, 2004.
Wow.
So Alex Smith, Frank Gore, Jason Campbell, all those guys.
Big Ben.
Yeah, Big Ben.
That's crazy.
And I got home, and my dad was like, "What grandma take you to?" And I Kmart, and we got a blaster box. And the first pack I opened, I hit a Alex Smith, Frank Gore dual jersey card. And at the time, my dad had no idea about that because he had been out of the game so long. He's like, "You got two pieces of swatches, like what is this?" and everything. So as soon as I hit that, I've been hooked ever since. My dad immediately after that took me to the local card shop, and we bought a 2004 Topps Total. And then at the time, obviously, Big Ben, Big Chase.
Yeah.
No pun intended. But the silver border was the Big Chase.
Yep.
And we hit the Big Ben silver border, and I mean, until now, I've never stopped collecting. And in college during COVID, we got sent home, and at the time, everything's closed down, and you're like, well, what can you really do to like help pay for tuition, help?
Yep.
I mean, at this time, I'm engaged, I have a fiance, and everything. And so I started going under my bed is where I kept all of my cards and shoe boxes and everything. And at the time, I'd go on eBay. I'm like, man, Drew Lock is really hot right now. Let me go see if I have any Drew Locks. Pull out probably 10, 15 base prisms, and I throw them all on eBay. And at the time, they were $50. Wow. Yeah. And so I put them all up for $40. Buy it now.
Oh,
and they snap sold. So $400 in probably 3 hours. And I was like, all right, let me go check and see what else I have. And at the time, Deshaun Watson was a big deal.
Yikes.
And his silver base prisms were $120, $150. I found 3 of them. So I hurried up, threw them on eBay, $100 a piece. Got snap sold. And then, unfortunately at the time, probably had 50, 60 Patrick Mahomes base silvers.
Yikes.
And I was a rip fiend. Yeah. So I just sold all of them to keep ripping more. Bad decision.
Yikes.
Bad decision.
All right. Well, there's a lot to unpack there outside of a $50 Drew Lock Prism, which, according, I think Brian's got it up here. The last base silver did 329, so a base non-silver at $50. That's quite the fall. All right, so a lot to unpack there. You got in early. Shout out to Grandma. My grandma was. It's funny that my grandma was one of the first people that got me into cards, and so I want to fast forward to college because that's like where our story meets, and like that's where you and I got connected. So in college, you don't have 15 or 10 Drew Lock prisms under your bed by accident. Like they don't just like, there's not like a Drew Lock fairy that just like puts them under your bed. So like you had to have gotten them. So like, where were you getting product? Like, how involved were you in the card market at the time? It has to be relatively involved if you have 15 Drew Lock prisms.
Right. So, like I said before, I ripped a ton. And in college, I would just rip, sell it, rip more. That's kind of how, like, I got introduced in the hobby at 5 years old. I never really was, like, a buy and flip kind of guy. It was more so rip, and then it just sit under my bed for a while.
Yep, sure.
So outside of that, that's pretty much how that happened, and just kept ripping, and I had a really big strand of luck there for a while, to where I was pulling some pretty nice stuff, and then now I can't hit anything.
Yeah, it's weird how that works.
Yeah.
All right, so you're hitting some stuff. You're ripping a good amount of stuff. How did you get more into, like, was there a moment where you started getting more into like the flipping side of things? Like, where did that come from? Like, just to like fuel ripping packs, or like, what intrigued you about like the flipping part of the business?
So as a kid, I've always dreamed to like own a card shop. That was always my big goal. Now that's kind of shifted to what I'm doing now, but so it all started with the Drew Lock thing. Truly, it tried to help pay towards tuition and get as much money for that as possible. And then I looked at my wife after a week or so and was like, maybe I can like do this, like actually like buy cards. And grading was big at the time, even though it took 8 years to get them back. And then so what I really did was just took whatever I had, and like I think I started with $500, and I went through all the stuff I had under my bed or stuff I had sitting at my desk in college at our apartment, and I just started setting up at Hilliard. Rob Dolby, Game Time Collects, really gave me my first opportunity to like really start setting up and getting into everything. And he would let me have a little sliver of his table at Hilliard, or let me have a table at the Southwest show he had. And that's pretty much how I started. I mean, Marquise Brown orange lasers that were like $50-$60 and all sorts of stuff that I just found. I mean, it's crazy to look back and see how much stuff was during COVID, because now it's either
a lot different.
Yeah, a lot different.
Yeah, I think that's the piece I was looking for there. Because I know Rob was a big piece of your story in the beginning. I remember going to his shows when I was a kid, so like very similar, path there. Now, were you doing? I know we've had Brent on before, and I know, three of us are friends. Like, Brent was doing some like graphing. Were you involved with that with him? Like, did you graph and then flip there? Because I think Brent had done some of the going to the like Clippers, Reds, Bengals, that kind of stuff, and then like flipping that into other things. Like, did that help? Like, was that any kind of transition into like cards, or were they completely separate?
Completely separate. And I always collected cards during the time, but from the time I was 8 years old to I would say 17, 18 before I went off to college, me and my dad would travel around the United States. We were quote unquote autograph hounds, and we'd go up to Cleveland probably every other weekend for the Yankees or whoever was in town for the Browns and all sorts of stuff like that. And I mean, we would know exactly. We got so big into autographing. We knew when Mo was signing Mariano Rivera. We knew Derek Jeter was signing at some point. Jorge, depends. And then A-Rod always signed coming off the bus right before they went into the hotel, and that was it. Jeter, it depended, really. He didn't have like a set time, but it was usually coming back at 12 o'clock from Starbucks or something. And then Mo was always the last day. So you ended up finding out like when these guys were signing.
Yeah, it sounds like you found out a lot about when these guys were signing.
Yeah, and you knew when to go up and everything, and you'd get that. And then my dad was a big eBay guy back then, so you would sell them all on eBay and everything. I mean, Sidney Crosby was a big guy that we always went up to Pittsburgh and got because he would only sign for kids. And at the time, I was 13, 14 till 16, and always got him. And we would get him once every day we were up there because he would sign only for kids, no matter how many. And just bought and flipped all kinds of that stuff, but no, not really a big transition into cards, just something else that we did.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, so a little transitioning here. You know, while you're in school, you're flipping, like you get a little bit more involved in cards. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, like how did you end up finding us and coming, you know, like applying for a job to like work here? I don't know if I've ever heard this story.
So thing is, I had no idea who you were for the longest time. I think I ended up finding out who you were my senior year, fall semester. Rob actually told me about you guys and everything, and I was like, maybe I need to go check this out and everything. He told me that you guys were big on YouTube and everything, and at the time, I was getting really big into MLB The Show.
Okay.
So I would just watch a bunch of MLB The Show content on YouTube. And then he said, you guys were on YouTube. So I ended up subscribing and watching a bunch of that. Ended up becoming a real big fan. And then, so that's how I really got introduced to you guys. And then the next day after he told me about you guys, I drove up and met you and I met Dustin. And I bought a Luka Doncic NBA Hoops rookie card that you guys had in your value box for $20, and they were $60 on eBay. Okay. So I bought that, and then I bought a Phoenix hobby box and went home, and I hit Joe Burrow RPA, Joe Burrow out of 20, and I think a Jalen Hurts jumbo patch. So I flipped those immediately, and then I flipped the Luka immediately on Facebook because I've been really big on Facebook as far as like that stuff for a long time. Yeah. So.
All right. So you came up, found again, Rob, shout out Rob again. You know, he mentioned us. Like, how long after that was it until you like applied? Cause I think like you had interviewed with JD
in the winter. Yeah. In the winter.
After school?
No, during school. Yeah, so
gotcha.
For the people that don't know me, I played college baseball at Ohio Christian, which is in Circleville, and then Game Time's in Circleville. So there's that connection. But the funny thing is, so the year before, I had just came off of Tommy John surgery. So I pitched one inning. We got told we were getting sent home. And my rehab completely went out the window because everything was closed. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything.
Crazy.
So I had to throw in the backyard against like our shed because I wasn't setting my wife out there to catch me pitching. I love her to death, but I don't know if she could have. And then my brother was too young, wasn't having my mom do it. And then my dad was sick. So, none of that, like, there was no option. So I was literally just pelting baseballs against a shed. And then we came back, and my arm started hurting again. So in the winter, I started to really, like, do I even want to finish? Like, do I just go ahead and get started early on getting a job? And then followed you on Instagram, saw you guys were hiring. So I emailed JD immediately. Shout out to JD. And we talked for months on end. And I ended up deciding to stick with and just finish it out because
That's right.
I didn't want to
Now I
quit
remember
and
this.
regret everything, which ended up working out because my arm stopped hurting for the most part, and I ended up having a really, really, really good senior season, and then my arm died. Like, just literally couldn't make it to the plate anymore or anything. And then I reached out to JD and you and asked if that job offer was still on the table.
I do remember
And
this
then
very vividly.
and then a week after, so our last week of baseball, I got home from West Virginia because we played West Virginia Tech at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was
You say West Virginia Tech?
West Virginia Tech,
That's wow.
and
I've never even heard of that.
yeah, NAIA baseball, like
I
small
was like,
school.
dang, dude, West Virginia, dude,
Yeah.
you play some dogs.
No.
I'm like,
Now
West
there were some really good kids that we played against. But that next morning I was supposed to be at work at 8 o'clock. I got home at 3 o'clock and was supposed to be at the office at 8 o'clock, and unfortunately didn't make it at 8 o'clock. And I'm not a person that's late, obviously, but
I think there was a lot more. I think you got to
Yeah.
elaborate a little bit more about like why you were late.
So, a funny thing is, so Tuesday before we left we were playing Gold Glove. For all my baseball people, they know exactly what Gold Glove is. For the people that don't know, I'll explain. Literally, your coach pelts baseballs at you, and you got to field it. And the last person standing is the Gold Glove winner. And I was always very, very good when it came to fielding. Hitting, on the other hand, not so much. But I was always very good with my glove. Well, we had an aux gym, and it's blue floors, and the white baseballs end up getting blue over time. And at this time, everybody's off campus because we're out of school. But so the lights are dim and everything, and we're playing Gold Glove. And I was like, this is my last Gold Glove. I am not losing. So everybody's getting out because they're like, I can't see the baseball. I'm not getting hurt. Well, your boy's not smart enough to do that, I guess. So made it to the final two, and one of our coaches just absolutely rockets baseball because me and this guy just kept going back and forth. Like, it was like 20 minutes of just us two, and everybody's getting frustrated. They're like, I want to go eat. So he hit it. I couldn't see it. So I kind of like just fell backwards, and it hit my shoe and popped up and hit me in the eye. Completely shattered my eye socket. Didn't know that at the time, but that happened. So fast forward, at 8 o'clock in the morning, or I wake up at 6:30 because I'm like showering. I'm getting there early, making a good first impression. So I get downstairs at like 7 o'clock, and the shop's 15 minutes from my apartment at the time. And I had a Mustang at the time, and I go downstairs, and I've never had any issues with this car, other than the AC never worked. And the tire, like, literally looks like somebody took a knife and just sliced it completely open. And I didn't have AAA at the time. I didn't know what to do. So I called one of my buddies that I went to school with. His name's Sean Grider. Shout out to Sean. And he had AAA. So I took it to the local speedway to get gas in general. And he had AAA come. They put on my tire and everything. And it's 11:30 at this time. And I'm texting you and JD apologizing like nobody's business. And I show up, and I have a black eye. I didn't feel the need to mention it because it was what it was. I was just worried about getting there. And first thing, I walk in, JD's like, you backmouth somebody? Like, what happened? And had to tell that story. Well, to fast forward again, like I said, nobody knew I had shattered my eye socket at the time. So I went back home because it was my day off. So I went back home because my mom was begging me to go to the hospital. And so I go into the hospital, and they took the x-ray, and it's the quickest I've ever seen anybody come in after an x-ray. Maybe took them 5 minutes to come back in and tell me that my eye socket was completely shattered and I am at a severe risk for my eye falling into my face. So they're like, you have emergency surgery the next day. What a great first impression, by the way. I worked for 2 days and am told I'm at least gone for 2 months. Yeah. And then I get home. 10 minutes later, I get told I have COVID. And this is like peak. Like, they're freaking out. And like, my mom's freaking out because she's a nurse and she's seen what it's done to people and everything. And they won't operate on me for 2 weeks. So then that prolongs it even longer. And so after my first day of work, I didn't work again for 3 months, which was very interesting.
Yeah, so much to unpack there. I remember like it was yesterday now because we were, that was right around the time we were moving to the new shop.
Yeah, and I showed up in a sweatshirt because I thought I was just working the shop.
Yeah, and
Bad idea.
We were moving.
Bad idea.
I remember being in the back offices at our building on the side of our old shop. It was like behind an old lawyer's office. Yep. And we were back in there, breaking down shelves. Logan's supposed to be there at 8 a.m. Now, again, mind you, we have a lot of people now. We've had some people that have worked for us in the past. You have an idea of, like, who shows up on time, who doesn't show up on time. Like, Logan is never late. He's never late. Like, if Logan's late, like, you're like, something is wrong because he's never late. He's always early. One of the first people. So his very first time ever there, again, like, that happens. You're like, what's going on? 3 hours late, flat tire. I mean, dude's eye was a whole different color. Then gets COVID, can't have surgery, got to delay that. So yeah, what an eventful couple months. Yeah. And then how long did you end up, like, how long exactly, like, did you end up working for us? Like, when did you quit to do full time?
I worked for you for 2.5 years.
When did you start Cards full time? Early 23?
April 11th, May 11th, 2023.
2023, that's what I thought.
Yep.
Yeah, now the thing, again, like, this is always one thing I admired about you, like, during our process, is, like, you were very open from the beginning when we hired you. Like, this is something, like, when you hire people in cards that, like, know cards, it's like, some people want to build it on their own. Some people want to be a part of the process. Like, there's not a right or wrong. Some people, again, want to create content and want to own shops and want to do those things. And you were very, very adamant and open from the beginning. I want to do this full time at some point. Like,
yes.
This is a finite amount of time I will be here. I want to do this on my own. I'm going to leave at some point. And that was exactly what happened. And that's always one thing I, appreciated, is that, like, you were, so open about that. But tell me, how did, what was the thought process like? What was that, because I'm always very fascinated when I get somebody on here that's like, I do this full time, because I remember those days like they were yesterday. It's actually not too long from, like, when this job, I think it's like 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, I had put in my 2 weeks in, like, 2018.
Yeah.
I remember it vividly. I remember those first couple months vividly. What was that process like for you to go from, like, working for us and be like, you know what? This is my time. I want to try this.
Yeah, so I think mine was a little different, more so just because when it came to everything, I didn't quit fully right away. We did a part-time thing.
Yep.
And JD asked me how long I would be here. And I told him I don't know, but at least I would be here for another 6 months.
Yep.
At least. And he made me promise. The funny thing is, I outlasted JD within those 6 months. So, but I did keep my promise. But it was not super easy. Shout out to my amazing wife for that. She was by far my biggest supporter in that.
Yep.
And that's something that you need, especially going into that, because, I mean, that's big transition. You're no longer guaranteed any income. You no longer have guaranteed health care. You no longer have, like, a stable income because everything fluctuates. I mean, Not every month you're going to have the same amount of sales. You're not going to sell the same amount of cards. You're not going to make the same amount of profit. So it was rough at the beginning. It was a lot of sleepless nights, reviewing cards at 4 o'clock in the morning, sleeping for an hour, getting up and driving to Xenia to set up, and or at the time I believe it was Atlanta Culture Collision, which was our biggest show at the time. We did at the time, I think it was like $54,000 that weekend. And I looked at my dad and I said, I think it's time. I think it's time that I sit down and have this conversation with Ryan.
Yep.
Tell him that, hey, I'll be here until you can find somebody.
Yep.
But I think it's time for me to go. And he was like, give it another week. Let's see how Lima goes. And then we'll talk about it. We'll sit down at QP's. Shout out to QP's. It's very, very good. And we'll have a conversation about it. And we sat down, had a conversation about it because my dad is my business partner in all of this.
Yep. Shout out to D-Rod.
Yeah, shout out to D-Rod. And everything. So when it came down to that, he was like, are you sure? I'm like, he's like, is Taylor on board? He's like, that's the biggest thing, is Taylor on board?
Yep.
And I said, she's actually told me for months now that, like, hey, you just need to quit.
Dang.
Just because, so she's a really big quality time person.
Yep.
That quality time was getting really cut in half, or to none, except at 11 o'clock at night.
Were getting the quality time.
Yeah, yeah, and it was very tough and strenuous on the relationship at first, but it ended up working out amazingly. And I mean, we just had a daughter and everything, so that's a whole new experience and everything as well.
Yep. Yeah, we'll get into the kid piece in a second because that definitely changes a whole bunch. But yeah, I mean, I think, like, again, like, our entry into the hobby is, similar for the full-time work. Like, you were obviously, like, working for us, so, like, I don't share that experience, but, like, I remember going to school full-time and working full-time on, like, trying to build it. You're doing a lot of grading, you were traveling on the weekends, like, you were working for us, like, you managing a relationship, like, just it is a lot, right? So, like, I think that, I talk about it a lot and on some of these episodes we've done with other people that have gone through the same thing. Like, having somebody in your corner makes life a lot easier. Like, if you're not on the same page next to, with the person you sleep next to every night, it's a lot harder to do it. Like, brings a lot more, like, questions and concerns than you'd like. So I know, what Taylor means for, to you and what it was like during that process. But, I give you a lot of credit. Like, I've talked with your dad about this in the past, like, especially, like, I mentioned about being on time, but, like, you were also very open throughout the whole process. Like, it's no wonder you guys have been so successful is, you handle things like professionals. Like, when you were leaving, like, you gave plenty of time, plenty of notice. Like, you just were always very good at communicating. So, to be the first person on here, I think that, has worked for me in the past and, like, been a part of the, the process. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I would give you a lot of credit for that. But again, like, I don't think it's any surprise that you guys have built what you've built now. Just, I got to see it firsthand, and obviously I've got to know, you and Hill and, D-Rod a lot more over the last couple of years. But,
yeah, I would definitely say you and Brent are the two closest to, like, watch what's been built. And for all the kind words and encouragement you've given me, Brent's given me, it definitely makes me feel like we're heading in the right direction, obviously. So I'm really, really excited about everything that's about to come. And I mean, the relationship that we've built, I know that even though I don't work here, we still work very closely together and everything. And very excited to obviously continue that. Me and Brent work very closely together and everything. So that's another thing that, like, a lot of people ask me when I left, why did you leave? Like, did something happen with Ryan?
Yeah.
And
I remember those conversations.
It was very, very interesting.
We heard it a lot at shows.
The amount of people that were, like, very interested in, like, hoping to pick and pull at some drama. And
it.
It's crazy because, like, nothing happened. It was
Yeah.
like I walked in and I sat down, and I won't lie, I got very emotional and teared up, and I looked at you and I'm like, hey, I think it's time. And you're like, I wish I could say I
Yep.
didn't already think this was about to happen.
Yeah, sure.
So, like, it's just kind of crazy that, like, people really hope that there's something to pick
Yeah.
and pull at.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. You mentioned the the show thing though. I want to hit on this because you mentioned Atlanta. You mentioned Lima. I know you go to Chantilly a lot.
Yep.
We do a lot of the same kind of shows. I want to get your opinion on like what you're seeing now at the shows. Because you go to a lot of shows. That's the one thing. Like,
yes.
You are very much a like traditional card dealer now. Like shows are a big part of like your business, but you've also got this like content space. You do a lot on social media from like a buying, selling, and producing content piece. So your experience is probably a little bit different, but I'm curious like what, because the market right now, especially for like goat stuff, like market's heating up. It's hot. It is full hot right now. Honestly, like this is probably a whole nother section for another time. Like reminds me a lot of COVID.
Yes.
A lot of COVID.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that are hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I see some similarities there. Not $50 Drew Lock base prisms, but I see some similarities.
Correct.
What are you kind of seeing in the market right now? What are some of the trends? Good, bad, whatever.
So, we're in the unique season right now with football season happening.
Yep.
Everybody spent all spring and all summer prospecting on J.J. McCarthy, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, all these guys.
Yep.
And now we're seeing a lot of those guys take that money that they made and put it into goats, to where that they feel that's the safest investment piece to sit back for a while. So I think that's where a lot of this explosion's coming from, just because, I mean, J.J. McCarthy autos at one point were $60, $70. I don't think you can find one for under $120 now. I mean, that's exponential growth and everything. So when it comes to that, those guys that were smart enough to get out of it before season, because that seems like what you have to do, because as soon as they take that first snap,
Yep.
it seems like they plummet immediately. Because at J.J. McCarthy's prices right now, go Bucks, he has to have a very good playoff run for it to go up anymore. It's already built in that he won Rookie of the Year last year when he didn't even play, or is in MVP conversations. Those accomplishments are already built into his prices right now, and I think a lot of people are taking the money they made and putting it into Curry, putting it into LeBron, Jordan, Kobe, all stuff, Brady, Mahomes, guys that are GOATs, and they're seeing that investment, set it back, watch that grow, and then it's kind of like a cycle. Every time, it's the same thing, and a lot of people that are on YouTube that I watch do it very, very, very well. And one of the guys that I think does it the best is Josh Roth.
Mm-hmm.
Roth does it probably, and he knows exactly when it's time to flip that switch.
Yeah, we have a saying around here that if Roth is buying it, you're behind.
Correct. Yeah, if he knows exactly when to flip that switch, and it's very, very impressive.
Yep. So you mentioned some of the QBs, because I want to get more into that though. Like, is that stuff you're selling at shows? Is it stuff you're not selling at shows? Like, what are you seeing like people asking for at shows? Like, when you go to shows, like, are you selling a lot? Are you buying more? Like, are you worried? Like, do you feel good? Like, you go to shows.
Yeah.
I mean, you just had a daughter, so like,
Yeah, it's been a little bit.
It's a little different now, but
Yeah.
like, you're still transacting a lot. I know you.
Correct.
Like,
You're what's crazy is, unlike last year, the quarterbacks are still hot going into the season. I've been transacting on football like nobody's business, but that's always year round.
Yep.
Baseball and basketball have their seasons. We're in the basketball season right now, because everybody's trying to buy them before
the
season starts.
Sure.
To build on the hype and everything. And so when it comes to that, as far as transacting, I'm still selling a ton. We've ramped up our buying just because we are on Whatnot and we do sudden death singles 2 to 3 times a week.
Yep.
So buying, I mean, our focus has changed now heading into like the holiday seasons. There's not as many shows and a lot of people are going to be staying at home. Well, what's the best thing for getting people what they want at the that aren't going to shows or staying at home during the holiday season? I mean, Whatnot and eBay are the two biggest online platforms, I would say, for selling cards. So we're transitioning into more focus for online during these months than selling at shows. But with grading and everything, you have orders coming back constantly.
Yep.
So you always replenish that show inventory. And I mean, Jaden Daniels still hot.
Yep.
I haven't been at a show obviously since football season happened because of my daughter. But I'd assume Jordan Love's about to be the biggest, most asked for quarterback.
Yeah, they're good.
Yes, very.
Yep.
And then I'd assume JJ McCarthy's about to get asked for quite a bit after.
I mean, we're recording this now before game 2, so like
Correct.
Winning on Monday night and opening week 1 probably definitely helps sales.
Yeah, especially with the comeback win. I mean, after that pick 6, it seemed like he was a completely different quarterback. Something I can confidently say as Ohio State fans, we never saw that side of JJ McCarthy in college. He was a glorified ball hander. So yeah, I can't really.
We didn't get to beat him, so unfortunately, I mean,
cheaters.
Yeah, I mean I don't think I wanted to get more into the showpiece and what you were moving. So I think the Whatnot thing and again just looking ahead into what's coming. That's a big piece.
You always have to stay ahead and look ahead, and that's one thing but you don't want to be too far ahead.
Sure.
Because if you're too far ahead, then you're stuck on stuff. So you really have to try to be ahead of the trends as far as what's going on.
So everything. I think that's a challenge of cards and what you're trying to do is trying to manage cash flow versus inventory versus having stuff when you need it. So what would you say are some of the other challenges you guys have seen with doing cards full time? Because I think that's that is a struggle. I tell you all the time it's important for us. You got to have cash coming in and cash going out, and same thing with cards.
That's by far the hardest thing to figure out, especially doing it full time, is managing you want cash but you also want cards.
Yep.
And I think the biggest thing is when it comes to that is we keep track of everything that we do on an Excel sheet. So we have it broken down by profit percentage, what we make per month, and the total profit. And as soon as we start looking at those data points, we look and we're like, okay, so just randomly, I haven't looked at it lately, but October's a slow month.
Yep.
So where was it slow? Slow shows. Okay. But the money still looks really good. So where did that pick up? Whatnot. Stuff like that is where you really need to pay attention to as far as that goes. So
interesting. All right. Well, you said earlier, you've had a daughter. So what is congratulations.
Thank you.
First and foremost. And I know I've texted you about it, when it happened. So I don't want to not acknowledge it on here.
No, right.
We've obviously talked about it in person. What has that been like as somebody that owns their own business and, you now have someone that requires your, full-time attention.
Yes.
And, now you're their provider for
Yeah.
it. So like again, I know we've talked about like the dad piece and like what that means, but what has it been like for you in such a short period of time?
Yeah. So nothing makes you want to work harder, but less.
Yeah,
And it's a
great point.
funny way to put it, but like you want to work so hard because you want to give them the world, but you don't want to work as much as you were because you want to spend as much time with them as possible.
Yep.
So now it's a fun time of trying to find that balance, and especially with her being so young right now.
Yep.
I've had to ask Logan Hill to step up big time in his role just because I can't fully be there as much as I want to right now.
Yep.
Just because there were some complications and everything. So not only does the baby need looked after, my wife needs as much help as possible at the house. And I mean, we've always talked about this. The one person you want to keep happy, no matter what, is the person you sleep next to.
Yep.
Because if she's not happy, nothing else is going to work.
Yep.
And with how much you care about that person, obviously that's going to take one of the biggest priorities in your life. So one thing that I've found is so we've been running Tuesday and Thursdays. Unfortunately, my dad had open heart surgery. I've been very open about that, sharing that with people just because I mean, he's at every show. I mean, he's just as much of this brand as I am.
Yep.
And I don't know when he's fully going to be able to return. So Tuesday and Thursdays, I do Tuesdays, Hill does Thursdays.
Yep.
Just trying to keep that balance and everything is like, there's just so many sacrifices, and you have to have amazing people that you want to work with and amazing people you work with.
Yep.
To help with that, and they have to have the same vision as you, really. And that's one thing that I've been blessed with is Logan Hill is probably, as far as an employee, one of the best you can have, just because he has the exact same focus and knows exactly what you want, as far as like how you want to build this. And he's even harder on it than you are sometimes, which sucks, because then you sit there and you're like, man, am I doing something wrong? But no, Hill's a perfectionist, and I love that. But at the same time, it's tough because I'm gone, so it's hard to really help him with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you brought up a lot of really good points there because, I think the one thing that I learned very quickly when my son was born was, the time management piece. Like, I thought I learned a lot about it in school when I worked full time.
Yeah.
School full time, and was trying to manage. My wife and I at the time, Regina and I, had just started dating, and you learn a lot then. But then when you have a kid, like you said, I think that quote is great. Like it's never made you want to work harder, but also less. So I think that's so true. But I think you would probably. The one thing I know is like just going through like hardships in business and in life at the same time. Like you'll look back on it and it'll teach you a lot because, I know you've had some personal things going on, like, with your dad. Like obviously that's a big one. I didn't know you had shared that. And then having a baby and still trying to run and build a business.
Yeah,
like
it's...
when life hits you in the mouth, man, like everybody's got a plan until you get hit in the mouth. Yeah. When that happens all at one time. Like,
and it all happened like exactly around the National, which is like the biggest time of the year for us. So it was it's been very mentally
taxing
for sure is the best way to put it. And that's one thing is like the business has been able to continue to run, luckily enough, and I think that's just more so on like props to like the foundation we've built and everything, which is amazing. But like nobody really tells you how hard it is when like you lose somebody, as far as like he obviously lose him for, I mean, he's been up twice in the past month now. It's been a month since everything happened. And then, I mean, just she turned 3 weeks yesterday. So she was born 3 weeks ago. So 2 weeks after he has his open heart surgery, my daughter's born.
Yep.
So like it's just a big transition from, hey, I'm really, really worried about my dad and I need to make sure he's healthy, to, holy crap, I'm a dad.
Yep.
I got to make sure this baby's healthy. And then my wife, who just went through one of the craziest things that you could ever witness as a human being, really, is she needs all your support. And then you have a business that you're really trying to run and grow into something that you're really proud of. And a lot of people don't realize how hard it is. And don't get me wrong, I'm very, very lucky to do what I do, and praise God for everything that he's given me. But nobody really sees and it's cliche or whatever, but nobody really sees the sleepless nights and the long hours that you really put into something to watch it grow.
For sure. Yeah, that's true. And it's like I said, it's a lot now, but, hopefully your dad is, still able to recover fully and, get back on his feet and, get out there. And again, I think you'll look back on it later and it'll teach you a lot about life.
Absolutely.
So definitely changes your perspective. Like I said, my son, we've gone over those stories, but definitely changes things. All right. Well, you've got a lot going on now. When everybody is up and healthy and fully rested and, back on their feet, what do you think is next for, Great Sports Cards?
Growing online more so than anything. I think that's where a lot of things are heading now. Not so much like in person. I think a lot of everything, a lot of people want to focus is online. So really hoping to potentially build a website, get that launched, and then obviously, especially lately, wanting to be home a lot more. A shop's been on my mind 24/7. I don't see it happening super soon, but you never know. But definitely more so growing online, building the Whatnot channel, potentially getting a website up and running as far as like for higher end singles that don't want to throw up on Whatnot at sudden death auction and watch them go for a lot less than you're really hoping for. So I think a lot more of that, and then once everybody's up on their feet, just really hitting the show scene again, because it has been a little while since we've been at a show. Xenia's this weekend. This will air before after Xenia happens, and then the Grove City Card Fest is at the end of the month, and those are our next two shows, and two of our best shows, and luckily enough, they're both in Ohio.
Yep. Shout out Grove City Card Fest.
Yep.
Amazing. Well, last question.
Yep.
One I always end it with. You've been in this hobby a long time. Shout out Kmart. Shout out Grandma. But, with everything you've learned, if you were starting over today, just knowing what you know now, what would be the piece of advice you would give yourself?
So a lot of people would say, like, build the relationships, learn to manage money a lot better, stuff like that. And I've always felt like I started off with that very, very well. My biggest thing is give yourself grace. You yourself are your biggest critic.
Oh, yeah.
And you can send yourself down a very, very dark hole. And I'm a big mental health advocate. You can send yourself down a dark, dark hole if you don't give yourself some grace. That's my biggest thing, because truly it is very, very hard to do what you have done. I mean, it's incredibly, after 3 years, how many businesses succeed? Isn't it like 5% or something, that statistic? It's something crazy low. And you've been doing this since 2017, 2018?
I quit my job in 2018.
So 2018,
full-time.
And it's 2025. We're heading into 2026. It's a long time. Long time to be able to do this. And I've been doing it now for almost 3 years. And it's just, the odds are against you. So you have to remain faithful and just give yourself some grace.
Yeah, I think that's such great advice is, we've talked a lot about like worrying about other people.
Yeah.
Like, again, it helps to be on the same page as the person you sleep next to every night. Like, you can only go as far as the people around you. Like, those things are obviously instrumental in building
Yes.
a successful business. And like you said, just something you can really be proud of. But I think, the battle between, your two ears
Yes.
is also a struggle.
Yeah.
Like, are you doing it,
Are you doing enough? Are you being?
Oh, for sure.
Are you providing enough? Are you selling enough? Are you
Yep.
spending enough time with your significant other, your family? Are you putting in enough hours? It's
A lot.
It's a lot, and
Yep.
it's funny how we started off this podcast with this may be the most unserious
yeah.
podcast, and this
For
is
sure.
probably the most
serious,
serious
hands
I've
down.
ever been. So
Hands
it's
down,
kind
the
of
most serious
funny.
conversation ever of all time.
Hopefully you guys take this and everything, but just know I'm never this serious.
Yeah, it'll never be this serious ever again. But no, seriously, appreciate you
Yeah.
coming on. Appreciate you, sharing a lot of that. Appreciate you being open to some of those stories. And,
Absolutely.
last thing, if people want to find you, where can they find you at?
Instagram, whatnot, Facebook. It's all Great Sports Cards. If you guys need anything, just hit us up there, and we're live on whatnot 2 to 3 times a week. Hopefully growing.
Shout out Whatnot.
Yeah, shout out whatnot. Hopefully growing that into 4 or 5 times a week. Hopefully finding another employee to help us with that.
What do you guys pay?
Well, I don't know. Yeah,
Might have to consider that.
probably not enough.
Might have a few part-time hours here.
Yeah. But and then Instagram. I mean, I post daily. I'm always looking to buy. I'm always looking to sell. Don't really trade on there as much, just because there is unfortunately a lot of untrustworthy people out there. But buying, selling 24/7. So
Amazing.
Yep.
Well, appreciate you coming on. Shout out to everybody for listening. But that's all I got for now, guys.
Thank you guys for having me.